just spoke to Bill O'Reilly about that, breaking news, and much more. Take a listen. Bill, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get to a lot, but first we have to ask you about the breaking news tonight that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly left a suicide note. It was released by a federal judge. His cellmate, who is named Nicholas Tartaglione, said that he found the note in July 2019 after Mr. Epstein was found responsive. I think it's strange that we're seeing it come out now, but what say you?
I'm not a conspiracy guy, Katie, as you know. If the note has been validated by the courts, it shows a narcissist not repentant for anything, and that's the mark of a narcissist. But I don't think this has much to do with the case itself, except in the conspiracy realm. That somebody killed them, they marched in there, whatever. You're going to hear that the note is a fraud. I don't know. But it's hard for an analyst who doesn't have access to all of this stuff to make any really cogent comments on it.
Yeah, like you said, it's an official court document that was released by a judge, so they probably went through some kind of verification process. Let's get to now more urgent matters, matters that are happening right now. The war in Iran, of course. President Trump seems to be at a crossroads. Either he's going to make a deal with the regime or go back and try to finish the job militarily. They're looking for a diplomatic solution. You know the president very well. Are you hearing anything about what he wants to do? No,
because it changes every hour on the hour. Basically, he's got reporters that are working for him, Witkoff and Kushner, and they're briefing him on what the reaction is from the Iranians they have access to. But every hour on the hour, it changes. And President Trump has got to understand, he's a smart man, the growing anger in the United States. And people, $5 a gallon. They don't really understand this Iran stuff anyway. Very complicated. And so the president knows he's got to move on it or the midterms are lost. So that's where we are.
But what about the argument that midterms maybe, A, may not be lost, but B, that they were lost anyway, so he should finish the job that he started, and he keeps saying we'll get a nuclear-free Iran in return for some short-term pain here, something that we've been wanting to do for years as a legacy item.
Well, it's a valid point. So if there is a Pentagon strategy that would eliminate the mullahs from enriching uranium, then I'm all for it. And every American should be for it.
Do you think that...
What kind of moron are you if your gas problem overtakes the threat of a nuclear device? However, once you hear over and over and over and over something that turns out to be delayed, then people get angry. They're starting to get annoyed. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, we know Americans like decisive action, which is why it was so impressive the president decided to take these actions in the first place. But do you actually think that the Iranians are willing to make a good faith diplomatic agreement here? I mean, just given what we've known about the deals of the past and how they've cheated their way through the system forever, can we really trust that we're at the end of the road here and that we wouldn't just be back where we are in 10 years?
No, you can't trust Iran to do anything. But you can live to fight another day. And if this thing continues to hurtle, I wouldn't say it's out of control. I mean, I think the Pentagon knows what its options are. I don't get the debrief, so I don't know. But the growing anger of Americans not understanding what's happening because it changes so often, that is a political calculation that has to be taken into account. It's not all about just bombing the hell out of somebody. It's about making sure that we get what the president promised. That is, Iran is not going to have a nuclear weapon. That is the key to all of this.
Let's move back to where we were a couple of weekends ago. We were both at the White House Correspondents' Dinner when, of course, that armed man tried to storm into the ballroom. His goal was to assassinate President Donald Trump. He's been charged with that. He also wanted to go after a number of his cabinet officials. There's a new DHS report that shows that the Iran war may have been a motive for the suspect. What do you make of that?
Of course. I mean, all anti-Trump propaganda, the hatred directed toward the man, affects mentally unstable people, and I think that's what this guy in California is. All right, it just gives them a justification to do heinous things, and they say, "Well, I'm virtuous. I'm a virtuous guy because I believe this or I believe that." You know, they live in crazy worlds that they manufacture through the internet and things like that. But of course. But I'm not going to tell you, and nobody could, that if there weren't any action in Iran, this guy wouldn't have done the same thing. He's unstable.
Exactly.
Right, he hates Trump.
We got to run, Bill, but I want to ask you about Ted Turner, of course, the media mogul. He was famous for founding networks like CNN, passed away at the age of 87. You didn't always agree with him, but you were able to sit down with him for some great debates over the years. Let's take a look at one of those.
Is America a good country? Oh, it's a great country. Are we exploitative overseas? Is the war on terrorism largely our fault? No, I wouldn't say largely, but I think if we stopped bombing people and sent doctors and scientists and engineers around the world, that we'd make a lot more progress and we wouldn't have near as much terrorism in the world as we do. I think bombing just makes people angry and they want to bomb you back. Well, I think they bombed us first. I'm not apologizing for my political views. I've come to them after a lot of careful thought and study and research, and I consider myself a progressive, not a liberal.
Bill, your thoughts on the progressive Ted Turner?
I kind of like Turner. Did a lot of good things environmentally, bought up a lot of land for protection out west. He made perhaps the biggest mistake in broadcast history. You're a little girl, Katie. 1996, Fox News comes on the air, and I was there, and Turner was trying to keep us off the air in New York City particularly, used every bit of power he had to keep Fox News off the air. He didn't want the competition for CNN. And then when we broke through that, thanks to Rudy Giuliani, the mayor, he said, I don't care, we'll squash them like a bug. That's a quote. I got to tell you, inside the main players at Fox News, we took note of that.
I bet you did.
That was a big, big motivator.
Yeah.
And subsequently, broadcast history turned around, and FNC crushed them.
Yes.
So that Mr. Turner, respect him. 87 years old, he had a good life, but he did make one huge mistake in the media.
Well, I guess nobody's perfect, right? Bill O'Reilly, thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you, and thanks for your thoughts about Ted Turner.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.